For years, the world has been told the same economic story. China is weakening, factories are leaving, tariffs are working, and supply chains are decoupling. But beneath the headlines, the number tells a very different story. And if you're building a business in the AI age, understanding this shift may become one of the most important economic advantages of the next decade. Because while public attention is focused on politics, the real battle is happening through infrastructure, manufacturing, energy, semiconductors, logistics, and financial systems. This is not about China. This is about who will control the operating systems of the future global economy. And most people are still analyzing the world through outdated assumptions. For decades, China was viewed primarily as the cheap factory of the world. Low-cost labor, mass manufacturing, export-driven growth. But the model is evolving into something more powerful. China is increasingly positioning itself as an industrial backbone behind the next phase of global development. And the scale is staggering. According to multiple global trade and energy reports, China is now manufacturing nearly 1/3 of the global industrial output and remains the largest trading partner for more than 120 countries worldwide. That level of manufacturing concentration has not existed in modern economic history. But the deeper story is not just about the volume, it's about the strategic control over systems powering the AI era. Take energy. The world is rushing towards electronification, AI infrastructure, EVs, robotics, and renewable energy. But most people don't realize how concentrated those supply chains have become. China controls massive portions of the global solar supply chain. Some estimates show that it controls over 75 to 84% of the key stages of solar manufacturing worldwide, from polysilicon refining to solar module production. In 2024 alone, China reportedly exported 236 gigawatts of solar panel globally, with shipments rising sharply in the Middle East, Africa, and the Asian Pacific regions. This matters because energy is no longer just an environmental conversation. Energy is now an AI conversation. And AI data centers require enormous electricity consumption. Robotics requires energy, EV infrastructure requires energy, semiconductor production requires energy. And the countries controlling low-cost industrial energy infrastructures will hold enormous leverage in the next economic cycle. And China understood this years earlier than much of the world. Now look at the batteries. Electrical vehicle revolution is often framed as the competition between brands like Tesla, BYD, or legacy automakers. But the real power sits deeper in the supply chain. It sits in the battery chemistry, the mineral processing, and the industrial manufacturing capacity. China dominates large parts of the global battery ecosystem. Recent energy and market reports show that China controls enormous portions of lithium battery production, mineral processing, and battery exports. In 2025 alone, China's EV battery installation reportedly rose to 40%, reaching nearly 770 gigawatt hours. Companies like CATL and BYD are no longer simply manufacturers. They are becoming foundational infrastructure companies for the future transportation economy. And this is where the geopolitical misunderstanding begins. Many people assume manufacturing diversification means China is losing influence, but supply chains do not work that simply. Yes, the financial assembly has shifted to countries like Vietnam, India, and Mexico, but the final assembly is only one layer of the economic power. The deeper leverage often remains upstream. The machinery, the tooling, the battery cells, the refined minerals, the industrial chemicals, the precision components, and the engineering ecosystems. A product may say made in India, but many of its critical inputs may still originate inside of China's industrial networks. That distinction changes how you understand global economics entirely. Because the future economy is no longer only about where products are assembled, it's about who controls the industrial nervous system underneath global production. And that industrial nervous system is becoming increasingly important in the AI age. Most people think that AI is mainly software. It isn't. AI is physical. It depends on massive data centers, advanced semiconductor supply chains, energy infrastructure, cooling systems, rare earth minerals, fiber networks, industrial robotics, and high-performance batteries. And the AI boom is quietly increasing the strategic importance of manufacturing again. This is one of the biggest economic reversals of modern internet era. For years, digital economy made people believe physical industry mattered less. Now AI is proving the opposite. And the more advanced the digital world becomes, the more valuable physical infrastructure becomes. And countries with manufacturing depth are gaining strategic advantages. This is why the conversation around tariffs often misses the bigger picture. Tariffs can redirect trade flows, but rebuilding industrial ecosystem takes decades. You cannot instantly recreate supply density, engineering talent, industrial financing, port infrastructure, rare earth processing, and battery ecosystems. These systems were built over decades through long-term industrial planning and state-backed investment. And while Western economies focused heavily on finance and software expansion, China spent years scaling physical industrial capacity. Now these investments are intersecting directly with AI revolution, and the global capital is noticing. Even amid political tensions, international buyers are continuing to source heavily from Chinese industrial networks because alternatives at equivalent scale just do not exist. This is especially true for renewable energy, EVs, battery technology, and industrial electronics. At the same time, China is aggressively trying to localize advanced semiconductor production as restrictions intensify globally. Recent reports show major efforts to increase domestic silicon wafer and chip supply chain independence amid the global AI race. But why? Because semiconductors are becoming the oil of the AI age. Control chips, you influence the AI infrastructure. Control energy, and you influence computation. Control the manufacturing, and you influence scale. This is no longer traditional globalization. This is strategic economic positioning for the next technological era. And the implications for business owners are enormous. Because most businesses still think competition is only about marketing. But increasingly, competitive advantage is being shaped by supply chain resilience, access to manufacturing, energy costs, geopolitical alignment, automation capability, capital efficiency, data infrastructure, and industrial partnerships. The companies that dominate the next decade may not necessarily be the loudest online, but they simply are the ones that understand how the global economic machine actually works. That is why studying economics, trade systems, and industrial strategy is becoming essential again. Not the academic economics, but the applied economics, the kind that explains why ports matter, why chip factories matter, why shipping lanes matter, why rare earth minerals matter, why industrial financing matters. Because beneath the media narrative, a completely different order is quietly forming, and people who understand it early will have enormous advantages in the AI economy. And to give context, in 2026, China's 19.6% surge in imports alongside rising exports is not a simple story of export dumping. It reflects the economy's absorbing raw materials, advanced components, and commodities at scale. The hallmark of industrial systems in active expansion rather than contraction. The composition of that expansion is where analysis becomes consequential. Mechanical and electrical products classified as high-tech and high-value added recorded a 24.3% year-on-year increase in January and February 2026 alone. This trajectory signals an upward migration in the export product ladder, away from low-margin volume goods and towards precision, complexity, and margin. That's a wrap, guys. I hope you enjoyed the information. I had so much fun packing out all this information, doing research and analysis on this topic. If you like this type of content, please subscribe, share, and like. And God bless. Have a good one. Bye.